Abuse of Academics. The University of Arizona, January 21, 2007, by David Horowitz and Tom Ryan, filed under Indoctrination U. FrontPageMagazine.com. Like its sister institution, Arizona State, the University of Arizona offers a menu of courses in radicalism that are political rather than academic, fail to observe professional standards, and violate established canons of academic freedom. In many courses at the University of Arizona there is not the slightest pretense of a scholarly approach to the subject or minimal respect for the academic rights of students who have enrolled expecting to receive an educational instruction, not a political indoctrination. Feminist and International Relations Theory, PS 461. Instructor, 5. Spike Peterson. This is one of 3 propaganda courses taught by Professor Peterson. Course objective: to explore the implications for international relations theory of taking gender seriously. Contemporary philosophy of science understands knowledge is socially constructed, with knowledge claims inescapably based upon experience and perspective. Historically, that experience has been primarily that of men, especially elite, white, Western men, in regard to IR theory. There is now an extensive body of feminist literature documenting the neglect of gender, that is, denying the significance of the sex-gender system in constituting social reality, the costs of that neglect for accurate understanding of the social sciences, and the need for reconstructing the very foundations of socio-political theory. Drawing upon that literature, we will take a gendered look at social theory and theorizing in IR. The statement "contemporary philosophy of science understands knowledge is socially constructed" is both meaningless and misleading, and underscores the ideological nature of the course. The philosophy of science is merely a subdiscipline of the philosophy of knowledge. There is no consensus among contemporary philosophers of science or contemporary philosophers as to the nature of knowledge, let alone that it is socially constructed. The nature versus nurture debate remains unresolved. Moreover, virtually the entire field of neuroscience is devoted to the opposite view, namely that the mind is not a blank slate on which society impresses its prejudices. See, for example, Steven Pinker, The Blank State. But students in this course will not even be made aware of these profound and unresolved differences, since no texts reflecting dissenting view are assigned, and since the very structure of the course is to train students in one sectarian doctrine. This is not a course in international relations. It is a course in the application of an ideological prejudice to the field of international relations. Assigned texts like Bell Hooks' essay, Feminist Theory: A Radical Agenda, reflect the course objective, which is to create activists, not educate students. According to Hooks, feminist theory should necessarily be directed to masses of women and men in our society, educating us collectively for critical consciousness so that we can explore and understand better the workings of sexism and sexist oppression, the political basis of feminist critique, and be better able to work out strategies for resistance. The Social Construction of Whiteness, Office 304, Deborah Whaley. Course objectives: to reflect upon, yet press beyond individual experience to articulate and comprehend larger and systemic race, class, and gender interrelationships and hierarchies. To explore the interrelationship between whiteness and Africa, Asia, Mexico, the Middle East, and the Caribbean. Gain a working knowledge of 19th and 20th century white ethnic histories, critical whiteness studies, and critical race theory. Provide skills to analyze gender, race, sexualities, class, and ability as social constructions with material consequences. Gain a better understanding of the interplay between dominant power structures, subgroup identities, and subjectivity, that is agency and empowerment. This is a course with a racist assumption that a white ruling caste has created the idea of race and associated racial categories to oppress non-white people. Students are required to texts by radical ideologues, Peggy McIntosh and Bell Hooks, and to watch a video by rapper Eminem that shows a knife through a photo of President Bush and includes the lyrics "F.K. Bush. No more blood for oil." And disarm the weapon of mass destruction that we call our president. Suffragists, C-STARS, and Riot GRRLS. An Introduction to Women's Studies. Women's Studies 240. Instructor, Carrie M.C. Bride. Course description: this course will introduce you to the essential history, writings, and vocabulary of the women's movement and feminism in the 19th and 20th centuries. In other words, This is not an introduction to the study of women, but a presentation of the history and perspective of radical feminism. In addition to being an ideologue, Professor M.C. Bright is also a political activist, whose teaching is her activism. The class notes to the course mention in passing that one class period started late due to a pro-choice rally, and that extra credit was offered for a write-up on the rally. This is not an academic course. It is a political program. Freshman Composition English 101 www.u.arizona.edu Sung English 101/syllabus. Freshman students at the University of Arizona are also required to take a freshman composition course, which is part of the general education requirement component that purports to build a foundation in certain skills. The purpose of a freshman composition course, one might assume, would be to develop writing and grammatical skills, but one would be wrong. Instead, English 101 as taught by Sun Ohm, a doctoral student in English, is designed to equip students with a proficiency in anti-capitalist and anti-American rhetoric. Students, for example, are required to read the Howard Zinn essay on the Iraq War, titled An Occupied Country. An example of Zinn's prose: the so-called war on terrorism is not only a war on innocent people in other countries, but it is also a war on the people of the United States, a war on our liberties, a war on our standard of living. The wealth of the country is being stolen from the people and handed over to the super-rich. The lives of our young are being stolen, and the thieves are in the White House. Students also are required to read an essay by another American radical who thinks America's enemies should win the war in Iraq, Robert Jensen. The consequences of this imperial project have been grim for many people around the world, those who have been the targets of U.S. military power, those who have lived under repressive regimes backed by the United States, and those who toil in economies that are increasingly subordinated to the United States and multinational corporations. Another text is an interview with Hezbollah enthusiast, Noam Chomsky. How is an interview with a political extremist a guide to writing skills? It isn't, but it does supply the requisite politics. It is hardly surprising, then, that students are required to read the Communist Manifesto, a text not even written by an English-speaking author. English 101 is a pretext for indoctrinating students in left-wing agendas. Every alternative media website recommended to students by the instructor is on the far left fringe of the political spectrum. Alternet, Common Dreams News Center, Democracy Now! News, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, The Independent UK, Independent Media Center, The Nation, The Progressive. This list comes with gushing comments by the instructor. Some of the best reporting on the war and terrorism. Articles by Robert Fisk are among the finest in the world. Excellent, readable articles on the war and loss of civil liberties. Immediate reporting of anti-war protests and resources for linking the current crisis to issues of global inequality. University of Arizona's English 101 is a travesty. It would be an appropriate introductory training course offered by any number of activist organizations on the left. It has no place in the curriculum of a modern research university. The preceding descriptions are only a small sampling of courses at the University of Arizona. Each of them is an offense to the very idea of a university. Recruiting students for sectarian causes is not the proper goal of any taxpayer-supported institution, let alone one that claims to be an institution of higher learning. These courses are a blight on the University of Arizona. Unfortunately, they reflect a problem that is not isolated but systemic.